Hello, my name is Bailey Snow, and I will be presenting on a critical thinking case from Chapter 1 of the Business Ethics Now textbook. The case study is called 3 Cups of Tea, Mismanagement or Fraud. I'm going to begin with a bit of the backstory on what this case study is referring to. So, the 3 Cups of Tea is a book written in third person about a man named Greg Mortensen. His inspiring story is what landed he and his co-author, David Oliver Rellin, in the New York Times bestseller list for 50 months straight. This was a nonfiction story about Mortensen's failed attempts to climb K2, which is the second highest mountain in the world. He miraculously makes it away from the mountain, and he finds himself in the village of Corfe, Pakistan, where he is welcomed by many cups of tea and is nurtured back to health by the villagers in an effort to help him recover from his treacherous journey on the mountain. So he was so inspired by his experience with these villagers that he promised his return to the town to build them a school. Greg Mortensen, is known for being a medic, mountaineer, an education advocate, and a co-founder and former CEO of the nonprofit Central Asia Institute. In 1996, this charity was founded with a $1 million donation by the Swiss physicist and fellow mountaineer Dr. Jean Herney. The mission of the CAI initially was to empower local communities of Central Asia through literacy and education, to promote peace throughout education itself, and to convey the importance of these activities globally. Most of these communities were located throughout Pakistan and Afghanistan, and the CAI dedicated their donations to building schools, enforcing teacher training programs, funding school scholarships, and they also played a huge role in educating these communities on public health, community support, and global outreach. The foundation really sounds pretty spectacular to me. But, of course, Mortensen is also infamous for the 60 Minutes broadcast that essentially ruined his reputation and left the public questioning his integrity and honesty. The journalist, John Craker, and his 60-minute correspondent, Steve Croft, were the two individuals that really brought these allegations against CAI for funding more towards domestic outreach than towards building schools overseas. So Craker's 2011 report through byliner.com, which was called 3 Cups of Deceit, is what really brought the original allegations on Mortensen. He was also responsible for writing a follow-up piece for the Daily Beast in 2013. Between Croft and Craker, they were able to convince the audience that the book 3 Cups of Tea was full of exaggerated truths and experiences, and other documented events that Mortensen had claimed to have experience. They claimed that it was completely from his imagination. So the charity work that Mortensen had done in Pakistan and Afghanistan had all been told in most of his best-selling novels. That was all now being disputed by many, by his donors, by his fans, by everybody. From 2003 to 2011, the CAI charity had received $73 million in donations and had $23 million in reserves. However, Mortensen was accused of abusing his management, and he was accessing this money for personal use. Based on the evidence presented in this case study, Mortensen, his work at the CAI was a prime example of mismanagement. He was further alleged of mismanaging the CAI and using his donations as his own personal ATM on personal items. He used them on things such as clothing, iTunes, luggage, luxurious accommodations, and vacations. And these things added up to $75,000. These specific details were actually later made public in court records, and they appeared to be supported. The CAI spent more than $2 million on private charter flights for Mortensen's speaking events, even when he was reimbursed for them. So he would spend this money on these events, and he would just pocket what he was being reimbursed for. But, on average, only 41% of the donations went to the CAI's work in Central Asia. Most of the donations actually went towards bulk purchases. For example, $3 million went towards his books at full retail price, which is what kept him on the New York Times bestseller list for so long. And to advertise the cost, the advertising cost of the books alone was $5 million. So that just kind of goes to show where these donations were really going. Donations fell from $22.8 million in 2010 to $2.2 million in 2014. So in 4 years, the donations decreased $20 million. That's pretty substantial. So what should be done to restore the reputation of the CAI? One way to begin restoring the reputation, the CAI responded to the allegations initially by agreeing to make Mortensen pay $1 million back to the charity. They also removed him from day-to-day operations and appointed a new board of directors, which was pretty good for what they got in trouble for. The CAI was also court-ordered to conduct more ethical practices such as governance, management, and financial control going forward. But from a business ethics perspective, the conduct of Mortensen himself was worse than the conduct of the CAI board. He was a phony who got famous on a bed of lies. Not only did he lie about his past, but he took generous donations and used them for himself. The ethics of the board really wasn't much better than Mortensen alone. Mortensen and his board together, they made claims of having built over 170 schools in Central Asia that was eventually proven to be false. They were going to these communities and building schools that were unwanted by the locals, and they would rather have had hospitals and other programs that would have benefited these children. But Mortensen and his board just wanted to do things their way, and it eventually caught up to them. So even in the face of stricter board oversight, Mortensen was still able to have access to pretty much anything that he wanted. Craker did a follow-up again that went on to present at least a list of evidence that showed financial misconduct again. Even after he was removed as CEO, he still pretty much ran the company. When he announced his retirement in 2015, and part of his announcement, Mortensen stated that he agreed to occasionally consult with Central Asia Institute for Overseas Programs. So this prompted Craker once again to make a comment. He said, "I am concerned CAI apparently does not intend to sever all ties with Mortensen, which suggests that the board still doesn't comprehend the harm that he has done." That being said, I have a hunch that the overall business ethics of the Central Asia Institute is corrupt. So that really wraps up my key points that I wanted to touch on. But the guideline that I followed for this presentation were from questions 1, 3, and 6 in the critical thinking exercise. Overall, I really think that Greg Mortensen is a great guy. He has a good heart, and he has good intentions, but he got to the top in the wrong way. It's hard to regain the trust of the public when they discover they've been lied to. So it's best to stay honest and ethical in every aspect of a business. Whether it's profitable or non-profitable, organizations, just stay true to yourself and to those around you, and you might just make it to the top. All right, well, thanks for watching.